This episode of the Esoteric Order of Roleplayers is brought to you by the generosity of our backers on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/esotericrp to find out how you can become a backer too. The members broadcasting these episodes live in New Mexico and Colorado, the traditional territories of the Pueblo and Ute peoples. We acknowledge these are unceded lands, with communities who continue to maintain connections to these places, and recognize their ancestors, their elders both past and present, and future generations. Learn more about Pueblo culture at indianpueblo.org and Ute culture at utepac.com. That's UTEPAC.com.
I summoned you, please come to me. Don't bury thoughts that you really want. I fill you up, drink from my cup. Within me lies what you really want. Come, lay me down, cause you know this, cause you know this sound. In the middle of the night, in the middle of the night, just call my name.
The Esoteric Order of Roleplayers present Monsterhearts, The Next Generation, featuring David as the Mortal, Rainey as the Ghost, Santiago as the Werewolf, and Kenny as the Vampire, with Dez as the MC.
That's where that's from.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
all right.
Well, there it
I'm
is.
cool now. So, all right.
So let's get into this final debriefing. This is I want to have a more celebratory tone. This is not like, this is all the shitty stuff we forgot to do. These are the stupid mistakes we made because we're perfect. So I'm not here for that. This is a celebratory discussion of season 1 of Monsterhearts: The Next Generation with the amazing characters and players that we have here, because y'all characters and players too. So I'm gonna just do a little intro. Okay, so I'm Desiree, I'm the Abyss, as per usual. I'm the MC. And David, introduce yourself and who you played.
I'm David. I played Autumn the Mortal.
Good for you. Rainey.
Hi, I'm Rainey. It's me. I played Lenore, the ghost.
Yes, you did. And
Santiago, Riley, the werewolf.
Yes, and Kenny.
I'm Kenny, and I played Lucian, the vampire.
You sure did.
What?
But
We come in with the blood, we go out with the blood. All right, so this is going to be me facilitating questions. Briefly, quick, maybe like an hour tops, and we'll talk about our experiences. And I just have a couple questions to get into our mode of questioning. One thing I did want to cover, though, might seem like unfinished business, and I hope the person who's like taking footnotes and like documenting all of the stuff that we're doing in some capacity. I'm totally kidding about that. Nobody's saying that.
Oh, what's the what now?
I'm rambling at this point. This is not a good start. I'm just saying, like, there's some like scribe taking all of these notes,
Right?
And they're going to be like, oh, well, they didn't talk about the season advance in the last episode for Kenny, but they talked about it in this particular episode of this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm gonna really try to edit myself down now here. So please cut all of that out as well. So moving on to the whole thing with the insight I had. So Kenny, you were sort of seeming a bit, I don't know, I don't want to put feelings on you, but you seemed a little frustrated or concerned about
I'll do whatever. I'll have whatever feelings you tell me to have.
Oh my God, Kenny, don't start this. Do not start this. You seemed like you were trying to determine what sort of season advance you would do, and rewriting your darkest self was appealing the most to you.
Yeah.
Is that still true?
Yes, because my initial thought was that I was going to retire Lucian. But the situation has changed.
Definitely.
And I think it's more dramatic to have him continue to be a blight on the Nuevo.
No, okay. All right. I'm taking it back now. So you were talking about rewriting your darkest self.
Yes.
And so I had a thought, because you were like feeling a little frustrated by the way that the darkest self is written for the vampire, which I think is a little
we
not
may have
great.
we may have talked about this on during recording. I can't remember anymore. But
Yeah, we may have.
But it's just the darkest self is just like how Lucian is all the time. So
here's the thing. That darkest self, so my insight is this was a way for you to access the character immediately, right away, and be like, okay, I know who this guy is, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
The fun part, though, I think for you, is that now you get to, like, yeah, that's the darkest self. But the challenge for you now is to play him being somebody who that is his darkest self. Like, he might be cold and kind of neutral and like not super reactive all the time. And when he gets dark, but you now have an opportunity to play him in a way where you have more liberty now to play him as someone who is trying to find either finding redemption or finding a way to just live with who he is.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? David, I don't think I said it that stupidly before, David, but I said it and you were like, that's perfect. And now I don't think I'm replicating it very well.
The way you put it is that instead of rewriting Darkest Self, since you've already got a pretty good idea of what that is, honestly, because you've been blade running along the edge of the Darkest Self, for the whole first season. Now, instead, you can look at like maybe taking grown-up moves or other things like that will make Lucian a more mature, well-rounded person that will move him away from Darkest Self. So instead of rewriting it, your focus now is to move away from that and like see where that takes you.
Yeah,
you know?
I like that idea.
That's just a thought.
Yeah.
So thanks, David, for helping. Yeah, so think about it more. We have a little bit of time. So.
I'll do whatever you guys want me to do.
Kenny, you're gonna do. I don't want to hear that ever again. There's no room for that here. You're gonna do whatever you feel is best for your character or the
I just
story.
want you guys to be happy.
God, no, stop. That's me. That's my job as the mortal. I'm the one who's supposed to be getting XP and strings on people by being like, he's like that sometimes.
This is wild. Okay, I'm taking this back, Kenny. Mm-hmm. That's just an idea for you to think about. We're gonna move into the questions now.
Okay.
And we could not have had such an amazing game without each and every one of you. So I just want to thank you all again for bringing it every damn time and for really thinking and being thoughtful about your character, the skin you played, the decisions you made. They were all so essential to this game being as successful, I think, for us as a group. Mm-hmm. I think we're all very proud of the finished product. I'm assuming you agree.
Yes. And we couldn't have done it without you.
Well, thank you.
Literally.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I did do some of the stuff. So, all right. So I am going to start. The first question is your favorite character highlight. So I want to know what your, as your characters, the skin you played, what was your highlight for you from the whole season and thinking about what you did? Does anyone want to go first? Does something pop into your mind?
I mean, I've got one.
Okay.
I think of the many highlights, really. For me personally, it is how things played out at the end of session 11 or episode 11, because that is literally how I had envisioned it from the start up to and including it happening in the woods. Like your
character death, you mean?
Yeah, the character death. Well, yeah, just everything kind of falling, like her rejecting everybody and then immediately dying. I was really hoping that would happen, because it's like as soon as the mortal's like, I don't need any of you, blah, it's like
they usually, that's when they usually lose it. Yeah,
she thinks she can be independent, and it's like, no, actually, that's what's been keeping you alive is your dependency. Right. So as soon as you cut that off, it's like, oh, well, congratulations, you're dead now. Yeah. It happening in the woods, like I said, that was like every time I envisioned it, that's where it was happening. Like Rainey even had, sort of, foreshadowed that with, oh, I dedicate this song to Autumn on our Discord server. Fuck my life,
Shady.
So
Dragger. All right.
So anyway, that was a personal highlight for me because it happened so organically. I didn't have to force it. It just happened that way. Everybody just like seemed to be showing up to make that happen, and I couldn't have been more pleased by that. It was a perfect example of how the collaborative narrative came to me.
that was actually really tough to tell if everything was going according to plan because our webcams were off at the time.
Ooh,
Yeah, so
I thought that made it better because we were really listening to each other.
We were, but it was
like,
really like, yeah, we could. I couldn't
gauge.
Like, exactly.
Right.
Like I would have been looking at David and been like, "Are you into this?"
and like, yeah, and Autumn. I mean, Autumn's trajectory was set from the beginning, and that's something David and I talked about in terms of what Autumn wanted, and it happened to work out that way.
What a girl wants, what a girl needs.
But here's the thing: there was no guarantee that is what would have happened. It just is how the story unfolded. So if you tell me like, "Hey, I want to die," or "I want this to happen," in your character, I'm not talking about you all.
Yeah.
If you want to die, I'm going to talk to you more intently about that. But essentially, yeah, if it unfolds in that way, then it does. At least it's out there that we know, and then we'll see how it kind of all picks up. So. Who wants to go next? What was your personal highlight that you liked with the character you played?
I'll go, even though I have no idea what I'm about to say.
Go.
Personal big highlight for Lucian, I think. I don't know. I was just very excited. I love Lucian. He's probably one of my favorite characters that I've ever played. Just because he's so overtly dramatic and toxic. And but then has layers to him.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So I guess like one of my favorite moments, I don't know, it was I always like seeing Lucian like prey on people. That was always really fun.
Yeah.
So like the scene with and I talked about this with David in our little questionnaire bit, but one of my big highlights for the whole season was when everybody kind of like got caught up in the bathroom at homecoming. So like, the dirty, teen sex or whatever that was happening, like that was fine. But then like the aftermath when everybody was there was really like chaotic and gross and just a lot of fun. And I thought, and just having that moment where like Riley's like pushing fragile little Lucian around and Lucian's just, and then like Autumn gets in front of him. She's like, "Stop it." And Lucian's like, "I don't need your help."
I know. That was a perfect teenage moment.
I know. What an idiot. And then, so that was like one of my favorite bits. And then anytime Lucian just like got his ass kicked a little bit, that was always really fun because he definitely deserves it.
Oh, we'll see.
A little bit. He's not a good guy.
No, he's not. We'll find out. We'll find out more, with time. But vampires are always tricky.
Yes. Yeah.
You never know. Like sometimes you do feel sorry for them, and other times you're like, you are a son of a bitch. So yeah.
I did like making David feel sorry for Lucian.
Yeah, that was good. That was really, really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Rainy or Santi, what was your personal character highlight that you really was happy about? Go for it.
No, you're just gesturing. Okay, fine. Let's see. I don't know. It's such a group game. I don't tend to think about like highlights in that way for myself. I liked going into the well. That was fun. I thought that was a good place to kind of stretch who Lenore was and how she responds to things. I also, no matter what any of the hardcore rules sticklers say, I like that you let me drive people around and possess people. That's always fun.
Why can't a ghost possess things? Period.
That's what they do.
Period.
We just redefined. Like it's our definition of inanimate, whatever.
Hello. If a human body is not moving, it is inanimate, period.
But yeah, so I liked those things.
Cool. I love those things too. Santi, what are you thinking about?
I really liked Riley and Lenore's time after they fucked shit up at the chateau, and they were like leaving with the box and all of that, and then the transformation under the street light and everything, and then just telling Lenore to book it. That was probably my favorite highlight.
Nice.
For Riley.
Oh my God. That whole episode still is to me my fave. I mean, every episode's my favorite for different reasons, but that one was just so fun because things were just kind of clicking into interesting. I think drag them. So basically what was going on is like, that was when I finally kind of clicked and was remembered it took, I don't know, 7 episodes for sessions to finally be like, oh yeah, that's how I'm supposed to be emceeing. So it was nice to be able to have that breakthrough at that point, and then and then I could be my best possible self for the rest of you when we reconvene together. So character highlights for each of you. Okay, really quickly. So for Autumn, I feel like anytime you were like pining were my favorite moments. Anytime you're like, oh, where's Lucien, and like, oh, where's this person, and where's that? I love that. That's just so good to me. Let's see here. For Lenore, I loved your chaotic decisions where I was just like, holy balls, where are we? What is happening now? The well was a particularly chaotic choice, but I also liked every time I threw a side character your way, you would always interact with them in a very kind way, and really trying to understand like, who is this person in front of me right now? It's usually a ghost, but I appreciated that, so that was fun. I like
GMs love NPCs. Give me NPCs, I will interact with them.
Oh yeah, definitely. So for Santi, for Riley, I mean, there's so many good moments. I loved every time I would be like, you're turning into a werewolf now. You're just like, no, oh no, like it's like just catching you. It always felt like, even though you knew it was probably coming, it was still like always a surprise, which I appreciated. Seeing your reaction, like, oh shit. So that was always a highlight every time you transformed. And then for Lucien, so many epic things, but I think the highlight for me was when you were straight up just like on the first day of school, walking up to Adrian and being like, you're mine, let's do this. Going like that whole thing like blew my mind, and I was like, okay, we're going there. Thank you. Cool. Let's see how everyone else is feeling. Everyone else is fine with this. Okay, let's proceed with this. So you set this horny level that was just like very hilarious to me and fun and welcome. And I think that was a highlight for me. So
thank you.
Yeah. So those were highlights. Yes.
For you, do you have a favorite moment as the MC, like where you just felt like, yes?
I was getting into like my favorite moments about you all. As an MC, I have to say, I thought I kind of said it, but it was finally having my breakthrough with episode 7 and remembering like, okay, this is how much I can relinquish control. And also here's how much I can interpret the rules. And as the MC, I can exert that power. So I guess it's my power moves, feeling like I could finally be like, oh, that's my interpretation of what harm is. And we're just going to play it as it lies and see what happens. So I think those are my favorite moments. But yeah, so I highlighted my favorite moments of yours. So I'm going to give you each an opportunity to share a moment of someone else's that you really loved, like a highlight from the story that you're like, wow, I really loved X. So who has something in mind first?
I can share something really quick. And as like a bonus moment, I like that you always tried to make us be in school and we never were.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on next season, I swear. I'm gonna turn it into a damn boarding school, because like you all need to be in class, for the love of God.
You zoom out on that owl gif where you're taking the little owls out and putting them by the burrow. That's right. And then show them just like going out the other end somewhere. Just like immediately you're like, son of a bitch.
It is. It's very much like, it was very herding cats. It was very like chicks that are like little fluffy chicks that are everywhere, just kind of going, oh, now they're there. Yeah. So I tried. But yes.
But I think, to me, like a cool character highlight is like we all went through many times with our lovely dice rolls and things that happened with going into Darkest Self, to the point where it became like kind of the joke that Autumn was never her darkest self. And then when Autumn hit Darkest Self, like that was the turning point for the season going into resolution. Because it's like none of us can handle Dark Autumn.
No.
Right. Like Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, it is very much that.
She's the strongest of the monster mutants. And
it was really crazy to watch. Just like once Autumn hit Darkest Self, how just like how powerful Autumn actually was.
Oh yeah.
And
scary.
Vampires preying on kids and werewolves like busting out all over town, and the ghost possessing everybody. It's like we're all of a sudden overshadowed by like this teenage girl who's gonna go rat on us to the cops.
To David's credit, the way that he plays Autumn, even when Autumn is in Darkest Self, all of the monsters still were trying to help her.
They're still focused on her. Absolutely.
Until we weren't.
Wow.
It's true.
Until it was like, help me hide this body. It looked like an accident.
Let's get rid of the evidence.
But I mean, it just like, Autumn was such a cool character, but just the fact that like, even though she was kind of like a central piece to every puzzle, like the way David was able to weave Autumn into the story, like as soon as he did get that trigger, like everything started falling into place.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one.
I mean, we're going to talk mechanics shortly, but I do feel like that is intentional in the way the skin's designed. I feel like some skins are designed that your darkest self should be going off like every 2 to 3 sessions, werewolf, and others are like maybe once in a campaign.
Yeah.
And Mortal's definitely that.
Mortal to me seems like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Who else wants to share something they liked from someone else's?
Speaking of werewolf, I do want to give props to Santi for how he played the werewolf part of Riley. Both absolutely out of werewolf form and in werewolf form. And we talked about this in our one-on-one where he said he was being very intentional and not making it like a Lupine from Werewolf the Apocalypse. And I will say, like it's funny because like some Monsterhearts groups, I think, depending on the skins, you'll tend to have more like body horror or gross out horror, and then other ones will be like more kind of intellectual horror. And I feel like we didn't have a lot of gross out moments, but every time Riley transformed, especially like with each transformation, as Santi kind of figured out like what does this look like by the end it was stomach churning for me. I was just like, this is disgusting. And I love it.
Good.
This is like some Rick Baker 1980s werewolf movie makeup effect kind of thing, where you could just see the latex appliques peeling off or getting stretched by some pneumatic device or something.
It's good. It made it good. This is not World of Darkness babies. Like Monsterhearts is not World of Darkness babies. Like we just have to. You have so much room to be creative, which I think is great. And that's what Santi always brought every time with every transformation. It always felt unique and new, even though it was the same thing. So
I really loved just I loved that it was almost like Riley had like his own subplot of like this thing that like he was going through, and it was very much like, I don't know, at first I think it was kind of in the background, and then like it slowly became like more and more in the foreground of like Riley's struggle with understanding who he was and gaining control of that and understanding his power, and then finally like being one like unapologetically Riley.
Yeah.
And it was just like seeing that arc through the campaign was really satisfying and a lot of fun. So big bravo, Santiago. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you. I was totally in love with that first interaction between Lucian and Adrian. I fucking loved that shit.
Thank you.
After that session, I was like DMing Kenny, like, this was so not in that way, bro.
Sliding my
slid
DMs
into Kenny's DMs.
Like, hey,
save the date. It's gonna be September. No.
No, my birthday.
I have 2 weddings in September.
Yeah. On Rainey's birthday. That's what we're doing for your birthday this year. No, just to talk about how vivid that was in my imagination.
Oh yeah.
I often tend to do that. I'll just trip out on stuff and I'll just start seeing it play out in a big bad cinematic way when something resonates like that. And I was like sending pictures of like, this is what I imagine Adrian was seeing, and I just just all of it. I was seeing the whole thing. It was really vivid and awesome.
Yeah, I had my fingers down my boxers and everything.
Oh. Well, it was the crop preserver, really.
That's true.
It was, yeah.
I don't wear
can't let that stagnate. Yeah. You have to.
Oh my god. Oh
you have to spread it around.
Right.
Like fertilizer.
So, but yeah, so like being able to capture that, it was very striking. I think it definitely made an impression on me. I was like, okay.
Well, it also set the tone, I think, of Lucien as a predator. You know, when that stall door came open, you know, I saw Lucien like waiting for Adrian, not like a surprise, not like, I didn't see you there, but like waiting, like knowing they were coming, expecting that to happen. Adrian shocked of someone, because you don't usually expect to open a stall door and have someone like in your face waiting for you.
Hopefully not.
And then,
depends on what situation you're in, honestly.
Well, that's true. But for the most part. And then the way that like Lucien just like snatched Adrian and like shoved him up against the wall and all that kind of stuff, it was very like Mantis-like almost. It was just like whip crack fast. Like the way it went 0 to 100 was fantastic. And that's why I love that that highlight. That's definitely a trailer moment.
Thank you.
For me.
Was there anything else that stood out to anybody you want to share?
I know that Kenny's flavor of vampire was very darkest self most of the time. And that's why to me it felt like Lucien's darkest self was much more like self-destructive. Like Lucien created chaos when he was inwardly focused and everyone else had to react to it in a way. Like that's like where Lucien became so dark, is when like he lost sight of everyone else. And like I just really liked the way that Lucien played out in those moments where like really like you got the, as a character, Lucien was really just trying to hurt himself and not seeing like the ripples of that everywhere. And so that was really fun to play off of as well.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys see these things, because I don't. I literally, I don't know. I don't know how it plays out. I'm just like, it sounds more deep and intentional when you guys talk about it. Like if you were to ask me about
you're
my
just
darkest
channeling
self, I'd be
You're
like,
channeling. That's what I'm talking
too.
about. Like, okay, like you're in terms of that. I mean, I feel like that if you're not aware, I mean, there's a difference between a lack of self-awareness and then like just kind of going with your gut and like, this is what it's telling me to do. I'm going to just let it flow and see what happens. And sometimes like after the fact or like re-listen, like if you asked me to like recount any of my like visions that I was presenting to y'all, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I'm just like having that creative process flow through me. And then I re-listen, I go, oh, that was pretty good. I'm like, oh, that was kind of weird or whatever. But it's just like, yeah, so it shouldn't be intentional, because then it's not, I don't think it's as creative or interesting. So,
yeah. I will say I really loved, I mean, obviously like most of the season was about like, well, to me, I guess, was Lucien and Autumn's like bullshit.
Yeah.
But a lot of my like favorite moments were when Lucien was with Lenore.
Like, I love those.
Yeah. The whole like when Lucien got like his ass kicked by like Riley's uncle, and then like
that's so good.
I love that.
Lenore had to come into like Lucien's weird like labyrinth mind palace. It was all crumbling and you know, things are falling upward, and Lenore is there like unlocking this kind of like deep hurt that Lucien is in. And I think all of that was just like so much fun. And it just like had this extra deep layer of like, you know, the fact that like Lucien is like with Lenore's like, former lover or whatever. And so there was like this contentious, almost like a rivalry kind of thing, but also at the same time, I don't know, I feel like Lucien just had like a deep respect for Lenore, and obviously was interested, and
and I only know that because you said the meanest things to me, so
right.
It's fine.
That's right. That's how you know.
I think it's like fundamentally it comes down to like you're both monsters, like you're monsters, and you have that to bond over, and that's something that you both know, that you have vulnerabilities that you can help each other as you're moving through in this weird reality.
Indicative of Lucien's dichotomy that I think was really played up really well by Kenny, with that inner struggle of like, I don't care if you hate me because you can't possibly hate me as much as I hate myself, and I also want the world to feel all of this that I'm feeling. I want to inflict on the world as kind of a balm for the pain that I have, and this like kind of churning between those and switching around between them, that was just really on display really well. And I think that's like kind of an example of that.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, well, thank you guys all, first of all, for hyping me up so hard, but also that's like what I loved about the last few episodes with Lucien and Riley, because like Lucien doesn't really have any friends. He just has like people that he's fucking, and like people that he preys on. Yeah, exactly. But then like Riley and Lucien tried that, but then there was like this weird like daddy dumb, like our teeth are hitting each other, and like we're like, okay, we're like our power levels are the same, so what's going on? And then like
it's weird.
But then we became like we started seeing the bromance, of Lucien finally being like, oh, like I can actually have like a friend. And I think that's where, like with Riley, I don't know, something about that hit really hard with me. I thought it was really cool to see.
I like that too. And I think it also could open up the possibility, for Lucien to make other friends. Like, oh, I could maybe make other friends.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Hey, if you want him to be painting stuff, you're going to make some damn friends. Okay.
Oh, that's true. He's a hobbyist now.
All right. Was there anything
else? You just really
else?
leaned into just play yourself there. So.
Yeah. All good.
Just listen. His whole shelf is just solo games.
Oh my God. I would believe it. I that's not out of the realm of possibilities. So, sure. Okay. All right. So what influences did you draw upon when playing your characters? Like what were your main influences for your characters, and then for me for running? I guess I could go first. In terms of running everything. So main things that influenced me, aside from knowing that it's like, based on the Vampire Diaries, that's like a series that I actually enjoy, and all of it's really cool. Like there's some really great moments in Vampire Diaries. I'm just going to say really fun, rewarding, interesting moments in the series. Others where you're like, really? But most of it's great. So I got Vampire Diaries going on. I got, I always have True Blood in the back of my mind. I have Degrassi, The Next Generation, which is, I'm sorry, it's one of the best teen series. It's so great. It's so ridiculous. It's so dramatic, but it's also fun. And if you haven't watched any Degrassi, all 14 seasons are available somewhere. So find them and watch them. If you like teen drama, I love teen drama. That's all I'm going to say. And then the other thing is just the influences are just all of your personalities. I mean, just the way that you all are and the way that you show up. That's what influences me to bring it, and to find out what, you just listening to you all, and just like trying to understand you as people, and what appeals to you and what doesn't appeal. So those are my main influences. So David, what's your influences for playing Autumn?
Largely the same, because we consumed the same media.
We do, although not Vampire Diaries. I mean, you tapped out after like season 2.
Yeah, but no. I hung in there for longer than that.
No, you would just walk in the room and be like, "What season is this? What's going on?" And then I would tell you, and you'd be like, "Oh, okay."
I think I actually got through season 5 or 6, honestly, because I was there through the whole originals thing and all that.
That's a whole other conversation. Okay.
All right, anyway.
All right. Moving on.
Whole other conversation. Yeah. So it was
Degrassi, Vampire Diaries.
It was Vampire Diaries for sure, because I was definitely channeling some stuff about Elena from Mortal on Vampire Diaries. Also music for me, like I workshopped a playlist into Oblivion over the course of like 6 weeks or something until I had it like absolutely perfect. But like knowing what music my character, because with the Mortal, it's like they're a human being, right? They're not a monster. They're just like an average schmo. And so you have to like ground them in that reality, so it's like, okay, what music does she listen to? And then that kind of told me who this character was, and since I was going for like more and that was something else, I was like, is this like the sort of bright, sunny, smiley Mortal character, or are they kind of a little darker? So once I decided to go with the darker thing, it was like, okay, that determined like what kind of music I'm picking. And I'll leave it to Rainey maybe to talk more about GIF usage, but also since we cast our characters using real actors or entertainment professionals, I guess you could say, finding GIFs of that person was very helpful as well. So yeah.
Rainey, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I guess original influences, like once I kind of locked in on the name Lenore, it is like 2 parts. I mean, the obvious one is, Lenore is a poem about a girl who dies.
Yeah.
A dirge for her, the doubly dead, and that she died so young. But also growing up, like being a big fan of like weird comics. Lenore, the cute little dead girl, is a comic by Roman Dirge. And so like kind of that as well. It's sort of that dark humor, creepy part of it. And so that gave me kind of that launching point. And then like David was saying, like once she was cast, and I like so I cast Lenore using Aurora, who's a singer, who is very like, and I would say kind of like me, like facially animated, which allowed her, because I knew I needed a balance of her being kind of like fun, but when I needed to getting gross or creepy, or she's like this stalker weirdo.
Yeah.
So like you should not like her for a lot of reasons. And so like having that balance is something I really wanted, to make her a character that was still like that people wanted to be in the game with them. And then it like just the fun of David and I being able to like have little character GIF battles where we reacted to each other. Just like the side game of the game. So
that's true. Very true.
The silent war.
Yeah.
Nice. In the background.
Yeah. Santi, what were some influences with Riley?
I don't want to get too Netflix-y, I guess, but okay, number 1, first and foremost, for the werewolf, Love, Death, and Robots, the Shapeshifters episode. It is 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes in your life. You can watch it. It's there anytime. Everyone has Netflix or someone else's login. You have no excuse. I'm not recommending 6 seasons of some series or whatever. Go watch this for the rest of your life. It's 20 minutes. So I highly recommend it. It's fucking awesome. And it's such a good, like fully realized, encapsulated story, right? For that one little vignette in that series. Number 2, Reservation Dogs. Love that show, and it really informed, I think, a lot of Riley's home life, I think, to kind of give me a little insight into what that might be like, living that kind of life. And of course, music and Riley's open mic nights, I think, were a huge influence in how he played out, how he expressed himself, how he expressed the like trying to figure myself out kind of thing. And then as far as the teen drama side of it is mostly Buffy and Vampire Diaries. I didn't get too deep into it, but I started. Right. And I got enough to where I could do that. And like in the opening series and stuff like that, they have like a party with the bonfires and all that kind of stuff. And that really, I think, informed a lot of the stuff that we ended up playing out. So that was pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah.
And gosh, that's really about it for my main influence for trying to channel Riley Brightwater.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Kenny, what are some of your influences you feel?
You
don't have to have a lot or any.
Well, when Lucian would fight, it was very like anime influenced, channeling things like Hellsing and Vampire Hunter D a lot. And I have a terrible memory, so I don't know. I think I may have said this before, but Lucian, because I'm so unfamiliar with supernatural or teen drama, Lucian is.
We'll say supernatural teen, not the fucking series Supernatural. I want nothing to do with that. I'm not interested in any of that. Okay. Just want to put for the record.
Right.
Zero interest. Zero.
How do you really feel about that?
I know, yeah.
But yeah, supernatural teen drama.
Yeah, I have very little reference for it. So Lucian, as dark or weird as this sounds, is essentially Kenny Unleashed. This is he is basic. Yeah, he's.
Go.
You don't say. You don't say.
He's the worst.
We all know that, by the way. So it's not shocking.
Yeah.
We're not surprised.
Yeah. There's a reason I gave Lucian my birthday. And it's because I was like, I don't know how to play Lucian, so I'm just going to be the worst version of myself. Lucian is Kenny's darkest self. So
very meta. Love it.
Yeah. That's kind of, and then it somehow worked out, I guess.
It did work out. For sure.
It's
okay.
It did work out. Okay. Well, that's cool. So those are some of our influences, but everybody's going to be different. Like if it's, let's say Stranger Things really influences you, like in terms of your Monsterhearts campaign, go nuts. Like whatever it is, you pull upon all of these different things and resources as you're running any kind of game. And so I just think it's interesting to hear like what's going on in your mind, even if it's like, what if I was a major trash bag? I'm going to play myself as that. That's completely viable way to do it too. Okay.
Yeah. I think when it comes to like influences and stuff like that, like for me personally, and this may reflect on some of our listeners, but like I typically very rarely will I pull reference from a certain character or something for like a whole personality. Instead, I will, I typically just play it myself, but I pull reference into the scenes that they're in, and I try to just, what I'm saying? Like I pull reference into the scene, into the that they're in.
Right.
Like with Lucy, like we talked earlier about like Lucian's Mind Palace or whatever. Like I was channeling Labyrinth there, and a bunch of other weird shit. Like I channel all the 1987's smash hit The Lost Boys.
Scariest movie ever made.
Yeah. Things like, all this stuff. Like I pull reference from all the pop culture that I like into the scene, not necessarily into Lucian.
Right. Right. No, that makes sense. Because a lot of this is getting more into kind of the like performance elements of role playing and like how do you do that? How do you develop a character? How do actors do that? And there's so many different ways that people approach characters when they're performing them on screen or on stage or whatever. So it's just interesting just because role-playing games are an opportunity to do that in a way. And so knowing all of your different influences and how you get there, but everybody gets there in different ways. So it's just interesting to hear. So, all right. So we're going to move into the general thoughts on the system. And then also there was a question David had, but your general thoughts on the system, because most of you are not necessarily like always playing story games. And some of this is new and some of it is, a little bit familiar, but I'm curious, how did you feel about playing in this type of a system? General thoughts on that.
Well, unlike our cyberpunk post-mortem, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of bad things to say. But anyway,
constructive. It was constructive.
It was constructive.
Constructive. Yes, that's it.
Constructive bitching.
That's right. Yeah, no, I always enjoy Powered by the Apocalypse. I think it's a good system. I know some people have issues with it.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect, and it's interesting.
No system is.
No, it's true. It is interesting how the system is constructed in a certain way, so that like certain interactions just don't really enter into the mechanics of the game, which is very interesting. You know, like in terms of if it's outside of physical violence, emotional violence, or you know, just emotions in general. It's just kind of like, you know, it's up to you, however you want to, you know. So that does put a lot of burden on the MC, I think, you know, in terms of how do you.
What do you mean?
How do you resolve certain actions that maybe don't fall under one of the moves, you know?
Yeah, that's where the creativity comes in, and that's where you know. Oh
yeah, and sorry, I was just gonna say, and other Powered by the Apocalypse games talk about hard moves versus soft moves, and soft moves kind of being like that's when the MC can kind of take the reins and dictate what's happening in this moment. And it's weird to me that Monsterhearts does not talk about soft moves; it only talks about hard moves. But that's just my outsider opinion, having never run Monsterhearts, so I don't know, you know. But other than that, I think for me personally, when I found that nerdy website that showed probabilities and how probabilities shift based on whether you have a bonus or a penalty, that really actually helped me kind of figure out how to evaluate whether I wanted to do a move or not. And it's not always clear, like when you're dealing with a 2d6 bell curve, you know, like what kind of odds you're dealing with and how drastically they can be shifted, even between a -1 and a 0. I think it's very interesting. So it was just some general observations. I'm not really going anywhere with any of that.
Good feedback, David.
Thank you. I'm going to leave that long pause in. I'm not going to edit that.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I don't know. I guess when it comes to story games and when it comes to Powered by the Apocalypse games, they are very fun because I think what's fun about them is that they force you to put your character in unfavorable circumstances, which is good. And I think a lot of role players or people who are playing the role-playing games, they don't want to do that. They don't want to put their character in a risky situation, right? They want to do all the dope shit, but they don't want to like risk anything afterwards or during even. They just want to pull off like the ultimate like badass move.
Heist.
Yeah, exactly. And like nothing bad goes wrong, which is like fine, but boring, you know, like that the fun is when, you know, I think about the masterclass that is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like constantly Indy is fucking up. He's always in a bad situation. He mostly, you know, gets away, but like he's losing shit. He's getting blown up. He's, you know, like ducking under, you know, all of the bad shit is also happening. And that's all the fun stuff. And when Powered by the Apocalypse is like, chances are, you know, on a 7 and 9 or whatever on your 2d6, you're gonna be pick your poison. You're gonna have to give yourself away, give somebody some mechanical bonus over you, and put yourself in a precarious situation, either right there on the spot or later on down the road.
Right.
So I think that's always good. And I think that's just a great little system. It's good. It's easy to see how Powered by the Apocalypse got hyped up for so long to the point of oversaturation, which is a shame. But yeah, I just think it's great, and it does push the GM and the players into these kind of like creative hotspots where, you know, like when Lucien and Marcel were like fighting in the, you know, it was like we're just like sitting there like spamming volatile,
Right.
volatile. And it's like, there's like, it's not a game that's like meant to be like combat heavy in a way that we are used to as role players, obviously. So like, really, it could have just been like, you roll volatile and I roll volatile, I guess. And then, or maybe just one, like I roll volatile and that determines the entire fight.
That could. In that case, I was curious how far to push it. And then there was a consequence where the chateau was taken from you. So,
right.
I mean,
yeah. And I think it worked out. And it was like, as mundane as the mechanics were and kind of unexciting as like volatile, as like whack as that was, the narrative was really cool. And like, it was great to see Lucian not be good at volatile, just constantly get his ass kicked, and be like, his darkest self, like flipping on and off like a light switch.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then learning some things too, right?
Yeah.
Learning things about the characters and yourself. Yeah. I agree.
So I don't know, pretty interesting. Obviously not mad about it. I don't think that Monsterhearts is a game that I would want to play forever, because eventually it would just lose its charm, I think. Or I don't know. It's just like, I don't think it's a game where you could play it nonstop for years. I think you should do what the game tells you to do. Raw rules as written, go play something else for a little while.
Yeah.
Because that lets you come back to with fresh eyes and a rejuvenated sense of time to get into teen drama. And I don't think that I could play a Powered by the Apocalypse system like eternally. I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't want to go from Monsterhearts to Apocalypse World to root the role playing game and then back to Monsterhearts. I'd be like, all right, let's change it up somehow, because I don't know. I just think if it was continuous, it would get stale.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Thanks. Any other thoughts about the system?
In the confessional with David, which sounds like a weird thing to say. I brought up that like one of the things I appreciate about the system as a player, especially since I historically haven't played as often, it's literally one reference sheet that tells me everything I can do.
Yeah.
And so it's really friendly to just be able to be like, all right, here's the types of things that happen if I need to like do a thing, but otherwise like we're just telling a story together sort of thing. And so it makes it really easy to pick up. So kind of conversely to what Kenny's saying, I understand not wanting to play Monsterhearts forever. I think that would just be a lot of like, it's something that requires a rest in between. It can get really heavy. I do think that it would be interesting just because having that underlying like simple rule set would make it kind of cool. Like thinking about it as like a game running thing to be like, cool, hop into another like pub to game, like see it like that lead time wouldn't need to be as high, but like you're playing something genre wise that feels different. Like I can see how that would be attractive in a lot of ways. Although I haven't played any other ones. I'm familiar with some, but I haven't played any other ones. So who knows if they're actually any good? Maybe this is the only good one.
I would say having played a couple, I think they all have a very specific feel. So it's like, feels like switching the channel on a TV. Because you're just like, oh, okay, here's a girl gang group show. Here's a show about,
or like they're all movies from like A24 or like one of those like boutique movie houses where it's like they have a particular feel, but they're also very different from each other.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the system?
I would also say real quick that one of the reasons why I wouldn't want to play Monsterhearts forever is because it is inherently like PvP light. Like you're constantly at odds.
What's that acronym?
Player versus player.
Okay.
So you're constantly at odds and creating, pulling strings and trying to kind of like maybe manipulate here and there. Like your fellow players and stuff like that. And I think it takes a very special kind of group to play that well without making people feel weird or uncomfortable. And sometimes it's nice to just be like, oh no, we're actually like all on the same team and we're not trying to like pull power dynamics on each other.
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, as much as you're trying to like pull strings, some of those are for good reasons, you know. I mean, not everyone has toxic relationships like you and David.
Right.
Some people actually have good relationships, and so that would show itself in another way. So
yeah, no, but that's not on my skin.
But I think regardless, it takes a lot of emotional investment, right? It takes a lot of emotional investment and then the willingness to play those dynamics. Any other system thoughts? Santi, do you have anything to add about that? Or
just on that note, just kind of jumping off of what Kenny was saying, I touched on this talking to David, but that's what I love about it. And I think that the other side of that coin is that it helps you step outside of yourself. It helps you revert to a more childlike type of play, where you just kind of like play like I did this and then play like I did that. And like that's where the magic happens in this system, I think, for me at least, is for just little moments. You are 10 years old in your backyard with your friends and sticks, and you're just, you know, you're beating up imaginary bad guys, but you're also like, you know, interacting with each other. And sometimes like one of you, like, you know, will get like force choked or like force pushed and you'll roll with it. Other times you'll be like, no, and you'll counter it. You know, sometimes they'll like, you know, your buddy will like pew pew at you and you'll be like, kapwing, kapwing, I have a force field, you know. At other times you're just like, boom, oh, and you're like, I fell off a cliff. You know, I mean, that super organic, rough and tumble, like collaborative headspace play, I think this system fosters that. And that I think is that's the real beauty of it. At its core, that's what I love about it. And that's why I like the system. And I think that getting in touch with that is where you like start to be able to roll with that constant, like, you know, attention to that. And I think this would make a really good, because you brought up Stranger Things. I think that this would make a really, that would make a really good type of storyline for a system like this, where there's an overarching something that you as a dysfunctional, at odds, fucked up group that's always fighting with each other is yet trying to come together to overcome. Right. Would be pretty cool to play.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's room for that. So why don't we take like a little 5-minute breakaroo, and then we'll resume. We just have 2 more questions left. One about failing, and then one about how are you going to top yourself. So
I'm horny.
I mean, not everyone took the opportunity to have a second character to top themselves. So,
right. So some of you are going to have to just top your damn selves. But yes, we'll get there and just
and I want to hear your thoughts on how you would advise other people who want to run Monsterhearts. And maybe Rainey as well.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, thank you, David. That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, because there's some people in this very group who would like to hear your thoughts, since they want to run Monsterhearts themselves.
All's coming from inside the house.
No. All right, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
All right.
Oh my God. All right, here we go. Wow, now you're all quiet. Now you're all like acting as though like nothing was going on.
Will never know how difficult we are to wrangle because those parts are cut out.
This is like hearing recording in progress is like the teacher walking back in the room.
And I'm like, okay, now I gotta talk. So
turning the lights off.
Flicking it off and on, baby. All right. So is failing fun in the game? Do y'all like failing?
So
oh my God.
Yeah, I put that question on there because certain of my professional colleagues who shall remain unnamed feel like since you fail on a 6 or less, and by definition on a 2d6 bell curve, that's 50% of the time, that failing half the time you roll the dice isn't any fun. Now, I think they're
I have a comment. I have a very strong comment.
They're failing to take into account the fact that you can stack the odds in your favor by trying to roll stats that you have bonuses in, and also burning strings and invoking conditions. And I think that you are intended to do that. However, it can't be denied, as episode 6 proved, that sometimes in Powered by the Apocalypse, you fail and you fail and you fail again. So the question is that actually a fun experience for people?
Y'all are players. I'm going to let you take the floor first on this because I have very strong comments about this.
Yes.
It depends.
No.
What the fuck?
Different opinion.
Wait, David, but David, you just did a mouthful of popcorn. How dare you? So, okay, before we get into yes, no, it depends. I'm going to say anyone who has a problem with failing in any of these games, you don't have a good MC.
Trouble.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You don't have a good MC.
That's why it depends.
Yeah,
I agree. That's why it depends. Because if you're punished for failing, then it fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah,
it sucks. But if a failure is just you go to the story's going along, boom, here's this point, and now that failure is just a turning point. The story is just taking a different direction.
That's right.
If that's what that is, then yeah, it can be brilliant and all kinds of fun. If it's the MC going on this power trip of now I get to fuck you over, then that sucks. I wouldn't play a game like that because I would have just a huge problem. I would, I would lose my shit in that situation.
That's why he doesn't play anymore.
That's why Rainey no longer runs. All right. So Rainey, you said yes. So I'm curious. Yeah. Tell me.
Well, I think it's two things. One, even for the more structural, rules focused sort of person, mechanically failure allows you to level up. So you have a reward for it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So even when you're on one of those just streaks of fuckery, you're ooh, and now I get a new power.
That's
or
right.
Whatever. So there's that. But also in line with what Santi is saying, failing just gives you an excuse for something weirder or grosser or more exciting to happen. It just shifts the story into an interesting lane from maybe where it was going. And so I think it's fun.
I agree.
The end.
Kenny, you said
also
no.
Be,
oh, yeah.
If just 2 seconds, real quick, it could also be a whole I'm going to try this, and if that doesn't work, well, then I'm going to try that.
Right.
And you can be in a lot of situations with a lot of different skins. Or I'm going to roll cold. I'm not good at cold, but you really want me to do well on this because if I don't, then I'm going to roll with volatile, and we're going to be in that box.
Right.
And I like that mechanic as well.
I agree. So Kenny, you said no. I don't know if you're just trying to be spicy on purpose or if you're crabby right now, but so why did you say no?
I said no because I thought I'd complete the triumvirate, honestly.
Oh.
But
he needs a nap. He needs a nap.
He does. I think he does.
I do. I need a little nappy.
Yeah, he does.
Which is okay. But so I would say no though. I would make a case for no.
Why?
I would make a case for yes, and it depends as well. Whatever makes you guys happy. But I will say
I told you to stop that. What would make me happy is you not saying that.
Okay. So why
Kenny's
I would
conflicted because like his service bottom energy.
Yeah, it's like, really it's out of control today.
I'm really just trying to. Yeah,
I was trying to hack the system a little bit there. It would please me to stop you trying to please everybody. So it's cute. Okay, so no because
no because sometimes it is fucking frustrating. Like there were times where I was like, I mean, a -1 doesn't seem like that big of a deal until you're trying to beat somebody's ass and your volatile is -1. You have no strings or any abilities that let you go to even 0. I'll take a 0, but a -1 is fucking brutal. So yeah, there was times when I was like, oh man, I can't wait to like bust down this, fucking door and kill this dude and then have some like dramatic tension between Riley and Lucian, and just ended up getting my ass totally handed to me for fucking ever. And I mean, how many rolls did Lucian make, volatile? He failed every single one of them. He didn't, I don't think he made one single volatile roll.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. And so it is frustrating when it's like the only course of action that I want Lucian to take right now is violence, because I want him to be like the big scary, like I want him to be a scary, violent vampire right now. But really, towards the end of the season, I was like, Lucian's not really a big scary vampire. That's not his job. His job is to be like an emotional vampire and somebody yeah.
Keep going. I want you to be really careful about you say that.
Because that's what I know, because that's what his mechanics are geared towards.
Right.
Having a -1 volatile tells you that he is not supposed to be out there wrecking people. That's the werewolf's job.
Right.
The vampire is supposed to be hot and or cold and or dark or whatever.
Right.
So being able to just be like, and that's further informed by the sex move of the vampire, which is like taking people to the edge and then saying, no.
Right.
So that's cool.
Goons, like an arch villain too. You have other people, beat face motherfuckers to do that on your behalf.
Yeah, if I had like the vampire coterie, like gang option or whatever, maybe that would have been better. I don't know. That wasn't.
Who knows? It can still happen.
Yeah, it could happen. Yeah. But anyways, that would be my case for no, is that the mechanics will put your skin into a box and it is fucking hard to break out of that box. It is really hard to act against the way that your skin is built to be.
You mean you chose your skin? Like you get to choose your stats.
You do, but it's like, yeah, you do get to choose your stats, but then like
once a volatile vampire option? I forgot.
No,
that's a good point.
I don't think they're volatile.
Is.
They're not volatile.
No. Yeah, which is like a shame, because it would be fun to have like a Castlevania style, Alucard.
You can buy up your stats.
Badass.
I'm going to defend it still. You can buy up your stats if you want to have a volatile vampire. Like there's ways to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that all your points are really well taken. Like definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's the argument. I'm just being the unnamed colleague's advocate here. That's the argument, is that you should
the devil. The devil's your
devil. Is that you should be able to play the kind of character you want to play.
Fuck that shit.
Right. However,
I'm sorry, that's fucking overrated. That's so fucking overrated.
As Kenny is pointing out, the way the game is what the game is asking of you is understand this archetype and then play the strengths, which I definitely went on that journey as well, where like by the end I was like doing everything in my power to avoid making a shut someone down or lash out physically roll, and trying to do as many turn someone on rolls as possible, which I think somebody even pointed out is like, you're the mortal, that's what you should be doing.
Yes.
And it's like
Rainy probably said that.
I think it was Rainy.
Which is cool, but it's like all right, I'm rolling hot again. All right, I'm rolling cold again.
Yeah, sometimes you're forced into those situations where you're not allowed.
Right.
Here's the thing.
And where you're acting against, like I said, like there were moments where Lucian, I was like, he needs to be the violent, destructive force that like I want him to be in this moment, especially when I was trying to understand Darkest Self.
Yeah.
Of everyone is your prey and you're a little feisty. But then like whenever I would try to be feisty, I just get my fucking ass kicked.
Well, I think you're reading a lot into it. Like, I think that's your interpretation of the character. And I think with the stat blocks, it's like, this is the block. It's like you're writing a poem, either free verse or you're writing it within a certain confined, like a haiku. And if it's like, this is a haiku that you're playing, it's going to be the 5-7-5 syllable format. And that's your challenge as a player, that you're saying, okay, I'm going to take this on. There's definitely going to be moments of frustration because you really want to use that word so badly, but it has like 4 syllables instead of 3. And you're like, what am I going to do? How do I make this good? How do I like spin straw into gold? And, and that's the crux of it. So if you're not willing, not you, Kenny, but if a player isn't willing to go there and have that adventure for themselves in terms of growing as a player, of course the failures are going to feel annoying as hell. It means you're not playing your character right. It means you're not actually playing to your strengths. And is that interesting? Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it is interesting, right? If the vampire wants to do this, you're like, but then you learn through those experiences, like, oh, I'm trying to be violent and it's not working. What is that telling me about this character? Why isn't this character able to be violent right now?
Which perhaps reflects the journey of the adolescent, right? It's like you try on different identities, you try on different ways of relating to the world.
Right.
What works, what doesn't work, what gets you like slapped down violently, you know?
Yeah. So So anyway, I don't want to like belabor this, but I thought that was an interesting question. I stand by what I say. And also, if failing is not fun for you, then you have a bad MC and you need to find another MC. Okay. So let's see here really quickly. So what would I recommend for first time MCs in terms of getting ready to run the game? If you want to run this game, read the horrible rule book. The rule book is awfully, it's not written very well. Unfortunately, it needs to be edited way more. There's a lot of confusing pieces there. I would say listen to our sessions. It's kind of like, I don't know, listen to our sessions. That's how we interpreted the rules. Listen to the session that Rainey ran. That was Rainey's interpretation of the rules and how we played it out, and another way to approach the game. I would say that find the fun things about it. Like, why do you want to run it? Like, think about why you want to run this. Do you want to tell a story about these teenage monsters? Do you want to really play up the monster pieces? Do you want to really play up the queer pieces? Like, what are the things that appeal to you about this game? What else? Understand that when you have a select group of people that are willing to get weird, but then also that you feel comfortable telling, like, you're pushing a little too much here. Like, let's bring it back a little bit. Some players that you don't feel uncomfortable having boundaries with. I would say those are my main things. Rini, what do you think? What would you tell someone who wants to run this?
In a similar vein to what you were saying, I like, especially if it's a system I'm not as familiar with, I find other people who've played it and I will watch them or listen to them and see what parts I like in their play style or not. They'll be like, I don't like it when they do that. Don't do that thing.
Right. Exactly.
There is a benefit on the esoteric order of role players that there are multiple MC styles to listen to all in one channel.
I know. It's true. Very true.
But there are other people who've played it too that are very different as well. And so definitely don't be afraid to see how other people have approached it, because it is very open-ended. And that can be helpful for you to determine your style. And then I agree with you. It's like, it's the right group is really important for some of the things that can happen in the game. So either knowing what their limits are so you can make adjustments.
Exactly.
Or if you're not sure if this is even a place they want to or can go, maybe finding a game that's a stair step in the friendly direction from Monsterhearts and like dipping your toes in to see how they do with that sort of content and that sort of role playing.
Yeah, I think World of Darkness. I think if you did something with Chronicles of Darkness, if you wanted to do something that's kind of like with teenage monsters, you could probably do something that's a little less. Wow, really going for it there, David, with the popcorn.
I wish this was a video podcast.
Oh my God.
It's celebratory.
It is celebratory. Okay, thank you, Kenny, for reminding me. One other thing I'll say, Rainey, I agree that find another game maybe that's similar and see if like a horror gaming piece, if the kind of like horny role playing games, you're okay with that, within reason, but like having the right group I think is important.
Or even just storytelling games, like plenty of players are willing to go dark, but not as willing to pick up the narrative pieces. They're used to the GM doing all of those things for them.
True.
And then as the GM, especially if that's something you're used to, it's an exercise in letting your players make decisions about the world. Because a lot of people are trained anti that, and it's something you have to figure out how to do, for sure. So
yeah, I agree. You figure it out with time. And I know, even though I had run it before, I ran it for a different group. And so running it for this group really was a big lesson in like
really tested your limits.
I really did. Yeah, I'm tired. So I feel like in a good way. So yeah, that's what I would give. That's what I would do. And I would just say like find the like teen horror stuff that you like. You know what I mean? Like, so not only, but you never know where you're going to get it. So another of my influences and resources that I draw upon would be the drag reality show, the Boulet Brothers Dragula, and their special Resurrection was particularly influential. The Boulet Brothers are a team of drag queens. They are partners. They are this amazing force for creative horror, spooky, weird. They are just an amazingly creative team, and they inspire me so much, just to bring any kind of like punk rock, gross, weird, fun elements into any kind of horror game that I would ever run. So find the thing that is that for you, and find the game that is that for you. You may not want to play Teen Monsters, but you might want to play another story game where you get to play a bunch of cuddly people on an adventure. Right. So like find the thing that's going to be best for you. That's what I would say. So moving on, our last question, based on your experience with this series, for our Monsterhearts, The Next Generation Season 1, how are you planning to top yourself as a player or MC next time? Who wants to go first?
With great patience, diligence, and flexibility.
A lot of lube.
A lot of lube.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's one of the reasons I changed my skin, is that as much as I also had foreseen this arc from the start, I think the mortal, it's like there's a reason why most supernatural, spoiler alert for every supernatural teen romance show ever, but there's a reason why the mortal almost always ends up getting turned into some other supernatural beastie. There's only so much you can really do with that, and so I am looking forward to exploring this character. I'm excited that it's the same character, but that it's someone who's gone through some pretty fundamental and traumatic shifts. So I'm very excited to see like where that leads me. The only like similarity is that this is another dark character. So it's like what's going to be like to have a dark, cold character rather than a dark, hot character. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Santi, what are you going to do to up your game for season 2?
I would really like to reach out to whoever MCs the next season, be it one of you all or me. But if it's going to be you, then I would want to reach out to the MC of next season and just ask about just ask about the addition of some apocalyptic event, something that embraces powered by the apocalypse, not to play a post-apocalyptic setting, but in a pending sort of avert a save the world kind of situation, right? Because with this game you can't really do a big overarching plot, you know what I mean? You're spinning your tires if you have too much planned, right?
You can't plan anything, but yeah.
Right.
The idea that maybe there's something, and just to talk about that's one idea that I have, and even if it doesn't come to fruition at all, that's okay, because I just think the conversation would be worthwhile, even if it ends up totally not influencing the game at all. It's not.
I feel like we've laid a lot of groundwork for that with all this ocean shit. Like I feel this constant. I'm starting to pick up Santi's ocean phobia, like thalassophobia, right? Because it's just like every time I think about that fucking bay and like what's out there, it's like
babies. Oh my
shivers.
All right.
Fine.
No, I think that's but so for your character, so I would just say one thing about an apocalyptic thing, like teenagerdom ending and adulthood beginning. That's an apocalypse.
Yeah.
In and of itself. So, what about your character? What do you want to?
So what I want to do for Riley is his. I think that his struggle will shift from getting to a place where, as Kenny put it, he can unapologetically be himself. Like it'll get to the point where he'll have to struggle with trying to not overdo it, don't overcorrect. He's gonna make some mistakes, and the people that he's trying to protect are going to get hurt. And so he's going to have to struggle to be a hero, not a monster. And I think that's what his struggle is going to evolve into, because he's taken on this, like, dark protector of this, like, area, and especially of his, like, woods, but also extending to the town, and if you try to force the world to make sense too much because of justice and truth and all that bullshit, like, you can end up overdoing it, being misguided, doing it wrong, and having some pretty disastrous results and people getting hurt. And so I think that's going to be his struggle.
Interesting. Kenny, how are you going to top your character?
I think, where Riley had a complete arc in season 1, I think Lucien did not. Mm-hmm. I think he probably, David and I talked about it, I think his arc is like halfway through. Mm-hmm. And I think the rest of his arc is going to be either coming to terms with who he is and trying to find some kind of like solace and happiness with that, or getting destroyed somehow. Whether he can truly die or not, I don't know. But I think that would be, I guess, like how, again, I can't plan anything for Lucien because I have no idea what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see Lucien come to terms with who he is, and I would love to see him get some kind of closure with Autumn. I think Autumn is very scary to Lucien, especially in this new form. And I don't know. I don't know that Lucien. It would be nice to see Lucien be happy, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Nice.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. Rainey, what about you? So you have a new skin.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's listening to this and hasn't finished the series somehow, like, please stop. What are you doing?
This is coming out after episode 12. So I don't know who would skip ahead.
People listen to it.
No, they don't. But oh well.
I will put spoiler tags on.
Spoilies. Okay.
But yes, so I did retire Lenore to the NPC pile. And I think, like, for me as a player, how I'm topping what I did last time, I mean, Lenore was, if you want to be able to do stuff in this game except turn people on, Volatile's a great skill. Highly recommend. Yeah, it's super fun. Yeah. And so going with a high volatile character, excellent. Good times. But I am doing the thing. I never play like a charismatic hot character. So that's like my new challenge this time.
Nice.
I just don't do it. It's not an interesting character type to me. So like I'm doing my best to see how it works, because I don't know how they work. They're a great mystery. But no, I'm excited. I think there's a lot that I can do with it to cause some chaos with other hot people in the mix. Lucien. Yeah. I'm mostly just there to foil Lucien. I mean, that's really my job.
I like it.
Thank you.
I love it. I'm into it. Yeah.
So that'll be my thing. I will either teach Lucien to accept himself or destroy him.
Thank you.
I hope both at the same time.
That's my goal as well. So we'll teach
Jesus.
Yeah, you're the focus, Lucien. You're the focus.
Yeah, it was Autumn last time, and this time it's Lucien.
Mm-hmm. I think so. No, I think you're right. I think you're right. Lucien's gonna be the focus.
Yeah, because even
don't give him this attention.
Episode,
He cannot be trusted.
It was like Riley and Lucien.
Yeah.
And then like I was just mostly distracting Autumn so that Lucien could go off into the night.
Yeah.
And survive until next season.
Basically.
Yeah. With the Venga bus. Cool. So
that's right. Always. In terms of my own stuff, if I can take another minute or so. I just think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pay way more attention to strings. I'm going to really push you all on getting strings on multiple people. I'm going to make sure that that's happening and that you're aware of that power, that you can really up the string usage, I think would be better. And just make it as unsettling for you as possible so that you never know what's going to happen next. And I hope it doesn't feel, some things definitely are like motifs and tropes, and they're cliches for a reason, and that's what makes them fun to kind of go over. But I hope there's enough in it to keep you guessing and what's going to happen next. So that's what's going to happen, hopefully, when we pick it up again, whenever we do. So yeah, so thanks again for all of your support, care, engagement, presence. It was truly a unique and fun and gratifying experience. So I just want to thank you all again.
Well done, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Des.
Yeah.
You're welcome.